Life of Delta, from developer Airo Games, is yet another solid and mostly traditional point-and-click adventure in Daedelic Entertainment's extensive portfolio. That's no bad thing if you're a fan of the genre, and Life of Delta still stands out by offering an intriguing new setting, impressively atmospheric presentation, and relatively brisk pacing thanks to a smart balance between puzzle complexity and player assists. The premise is that in the far future, where megacities, robotic workforces, and flying vehicles are commonplace, humanity predictably annihilates itself in nuclear war. The result is a ruined, contaminated world, inherited and slowly rebuilt by anthropomorphic mutants that emerge from the fallout, along with surviving sentient robots. Unsurprisingly, discrimination and intolerance fester yet again, with the increasingly fascistic mutants taking to destroying robot production lines and abandoning many aging and decaying models. The protagonist, Service Robot Delta, is pulled from an acid vat by Repair Robot Joe, shuttled out of the factory, and slowly restored. His actions don't go unnoticed, however, and one morning, just as Delta is returning to full functionality, Joe is arrested and taken away. Delta crawls out of his hiding spot, and his quest to find and free his savior begins in earnest. A post-apocalyptic Earth with newly evolved life repeating old mistakes is hardly a novel premise anymore, but it makes for an intriguing setting in Life of Delta thanks to its structure. Both the central plot and backstory are doled out through frequent interactions with other characters as you explore its melancholic but often beautiful world, traveling from the dusty outskirts to hazy urban slums and sneaking through police and military facilities. There's no direct storytelling in the cutscenes and no environmental details with flavor text, so every character you interact with is significant. Surviving robots, with distinctive designs and personalities representative of their function, readily discuss the state of the world, their inevitable fate, and drop hints as to what happened in the past. You're incentivized to interact and listen to them all, well, read with accompanying robot sounds, and Life of Delta does a great job of blending narrative with gameplay elements, as every friendly NPC will either assign you a task or provide some clues as to what to do next. Of course, an interesting narrative and memorable characters are essential in the genre, but Life of Delta also impresses on the gameplay front, alternating between classic use item on object puzzles and diverse minigames that rarely repeated an idea. The traditional elements include exploring compact environments, searching for hotspots that lead to quest-giving NPCs, puzzle components, interactive objects, or clues. You'll then collect, combine, and use items from your inventory to find more key items, or maybe restore a device. And you can bet that any area with multiple NPCs will dole out a series of interconnected quests that you'll need to fulfill before moving on. These sections feel competently made and polished, but they're also overly familiar for fans. What I enjoyed more were the myriad of engaging minigames that will test your ability to interpret visual clues, recognize patterns, understand sequences, predict pathing, your ability to optimize things in limited space, with a bit of numeracy and symbology thrown in. You'll charge batteries, debug CPU code, mix a potion for a sick cow, rebuild a spaceship, and distract or disable no shortage of mutants. These scenarios elevate the puzzles, and despite the grim tone, many feature more humorous moments. Despite Delta's designation as an inherently helpful service robot, they're surprisingly competent at creating chaos when a distraction or a quick escape is needed. To maintain pacing, Life of Delta features a detailed quest log and dialogue transcript. There are no red herrings. Unnecessary items are discarded between scenes, and if you linger on a puzzle for a few minutes, the game offers a button to autocomplete it so you can eventually move on. Given the style, Life of Delta looks and runs great on console. It utilizes hand-drawn backdrops, with vibrant contrasting color and a real sense of depth, coupled with lightly animated sprites for the characters you encounter and any moving foreground or background objects. When you complement the basic visual setup with striking neon lights, atmospheric effects and ambience, and a moody soundtrack, it makes for a surprisingly immersive presentation. What doesn't pan out so well on console is the controls. It's an emulated mouse setup we've seen many times before, with no ability to directly control Delta's movement, but some shortcuts don't work and general inputs or menu navigation can feel sluggish. You often need to reposition Delta or mash the interact button repeatedly. Opening your inventory means dragging the cursor to the top left corner as the D-pad shortcuts don't work, and some inputs, think activating a puzzle item rather than picking it back up, required mashing the interact key in combination with the quest log shortcut. It was never game-breaking, but it happened frequently enough to be annoying. Those gripes aside, Life of Delta is still a solid choice on console if you're a fan of the point-and-click genre, and in the mood for a post-apocalyptic sci-fi fix. The new setting and the characters within it are great. The gameplay is a decent mix of traditional puzzles and minigames, and I was surprised by how atmospheric and immersive the world felt. If you have the choice and you're not in a rush, maybe pick it up on PC or wait for a patch to address some lingering controller issues.
If you've got this far, please consider giving the video a like and maybe subscribing to our channel, as it helps us grow.